Hello, my name is Junyin Zhang. Welcome to my YouTube channel, Middle Kingdom Law Insider. Through my channel, I explain China law for you. In my last video, I have explained the institutional structure of China's legal system. In this video, I will help you to go through how a law is made in China. As I mentioned in my last video, China has a centralized government structure. However, from the legislative perspective, the sources of law in China do not always come from the central government. Actually, they include laws from several layers of authorities, from the highest to the lowest, including the constitution, laws, administrative regulations, local regulations, administrative rules. To understand the authority of each layer of these laws, I will use another video to explain. To make a legislative proposal become a law, different levels of laws must follow different rules and procedures. In this video, I will use the laws made by the National Congress and its Standing Committee to explain the lawmaking process, because it is the most important and the representative one to help you to understand the lawmaking process on China's political system. Let's take a look at the meeting structure of China's National Congress. In China, the National Congress includes two meetings for lawmaking purpose. First, the National Congress Assembly. The National Congress Assembly includes all Congress representatives elected from the country, which is about 3,000 members. Usually, the National Congress Assembly meets only once a year in Beijing. The National Congress Assembly is the most important political event in China. It makes the most important decisions in China's economic, social, political, and legislative matters. Second, the Standing Committee meetings. The Standing Committee is the National Congress permanent setup. It is only comprises of less than 200 members selected out of all National Congress representatives. The Standing Committee hosts meetings every 2 months. The meeting scale is much smaller than National Congress Assembly. This picture shows the difference in numbers in the National Congress and its Standing Committee. The 13th National Congress has 2,980 representatives, but its Standing Committee has only 172 members. Although the Constitution vests the lawmaking power to the National Congress and its Standing Committee, the authority in making laws between two is slightly different. Generally, the National Congress Assembly makes the most important laws, including amending the Constitution and passing basic laws. The Standing Committee only makes ordinary laws other than basic laws. Here I use ordinary laws to distinguish basic laws made by the National Congress Assembly. However, the line between ordinary laws and basic laws is not very clear. Generally, basic laws means things relating to criminal and civil matters, government structures, etc. In China's legal text, there only enumerates what the laws are. There is no clear definition for basic laws and ordinary laws. Although there is a difference in making laws between the National Congress and the Standing Committee, there is no significant difference in rules and procedures to pass a law. So, let me make lawmaking process at the National Congress Assembly to explain the lawmaking process in China. Let's take a look at this procedural flow. Step 1. The legislative proposal is submitted to the President of the National Congress Assembly. Typically, the proposal should be submitted before the meeting starts. Step 2. The President decides whether to add a legislative proposal into meeting agenda. The President can also ask the comments from Special Committee of the Standing Committee before its decision to admit a proposal into meeting agenda. Step 3. The sponsor makes a presentation in Assembly to explain the legislative proposal. Step 4. The legislative proposal is discussed by all delegations, the Legislative Committee or other special committees. Step 5. The Legislative Committee collects all opinions and comments from the discussions by each of delegations and special committees, and then make a report and produce a final draft. Step 6. The President reviews the report and final draft of the legislative proposal before its circulation to all Congress representatives. Step 7. The report and the final draft is circulated to all Congress representatives. Step 8. Voting by Congress representatives. If passed, the President signs it into law, and then the National Congress publishes it on its official publication. In China, to pass an amendment of Constitution needs 2/3 of total votes. To pass a law only needs half of total votes. At the Standing Committee meetings, to pass an ordinary law uses a similar procedure but in much smaller scale. The differences are: the President of the National Congress Assembly is replaced by the chairman's meetings as the organizer to lead the meetings at the Standing Committee. If the Legislative Committee could not produce the final report for members to pass the law in the first meeting, the final report can be submitted in the next meeting. This means, if a legislative proposal is discussed in the first meeting, the voting can happen in the second meeting. The first meeting does not have to produce the result. When we discuss the lawmaking process, several questions you might want to ask. Does any lobbyist get involved in China's lawmaking process? Who is the sponsor to a legislative proposal? Is the sponsor an interested person to a legislative proposal? Let me answer these questions one by one. First, China does not have law to allow the lobbyist to get involved into lawmaking process. The lobbyist does not exist in China's legal professions. Second, only certain organizations or individuals co-sponsor a legislative proposal. At the National Congress Assembly, here's the list of organizations or individual representatives who can sponsor a legislative proposal. The first one is the President of the National Congress Assembly. The second one is the Standing Committee of the National Congress. Third, each special committee of the National Congress. The State Council, the Central Military Committee, People's Supreme Courts, the People's Supreme Procuratorate, a delegation of the National Congress, more than 13 National Congress representatives. At the Standing Committee, the organization and individual sponsors are less than those in the National Congress, which include the State Council, the Central Military Committee, the People's Supreme Court, the People's Supreme Procuratorate, 10-member representatives of the Standing Committee, which is much less than the requirement in the National Congress. Because the President of the National Congress Assembly and the National Congress delegation are the temporary setups for the meeting. Practically, they could not sponsor the legislative proposal. In the past, individual representatives had difficulties in sponsoring a legislative proposal due to the requirements for eligibility. So, initiating legislative proposals had been heavily relied on permanent setups, such as the State Council, the Special Committee of the National Congress. However, in recent years, the individual representatives have become more and more active. For example, in the second meeting of the 13th National People's Congress, 487 legislative proposals were submitted by individual representatives, which is about 51% more than the previous meeting. In the US, many organizations hire lobbyists to propose bills in the Congress. Can this be done in China? The answer is no, because organization sponsors are not individuals, so generally they do not represent interest for a small group of people. The accountability and anti-corruption mechanism also do not allow organization sponsors to represent an individual group's interest. For individual representatives, practically, I do not know how a delegation or group of representatives initiate a legislative proposal and whether the representatives have any interest on the proposal. However, even if there is any, it will be hard to address small groups' interest through a legislative proposal, because mostly any proposal must go through scholars' scrutiny, review by other representatives, the legislative committee, special committees, as well as public opinions. Recently, there is an increased public involvement in China's lawmaking process. China law says a legislative proposal may be published for seeking public opinions. Since 2005, seeking public opinions to make law has become a norm for China's lawmaking process. So, theoretically, a lawmaking process is not just a matter for the Congress representatives, but a matter for all people. In China, people make laws. This probably is the very reason why each law has high passing rate at the National Congress Assembly. By the way, for people who are interested in studying China's legal system, the National Congress website publishes all new legislative proposals that are seeking for public opinions. Another character of China's lawmaking process is China has different levels of laws, of which each authority can quickly, without conflict to basic laws, to address the issue through legislative process in a local level. This speeds up lawmaking process. During past 40 years, China's open-up policies, economic reforms have encountered many new issues. Without this unique lawmaking process, it's hard to develop China's economy under the principle of rule of law. The National Congress Assembly is the most important meeting in China's political system. Here is some data for the composition of representatives of the National Congress. From this data, you will get some ideas the composition of representatives in China's National Congress. This picture shows the change of numbers of total representatives from the first National Congress to the 13th National Congress. Since the third National Congress, the number has been kept around 3,000 representatives. This picture shows the change of percentage of ethnic minority representatives in the National Congress. This picture shows the change of percentage of female representatives in the National Congress. The female representatives are increasing in numbers in recent years. This picture shows the percentage of female and ethnic representatives in the Standing Committee of the 13th National Congress. This picture shows the percentage of representatives from different classes of people. China is trying to reduce the number of political and party leaders in the National Congress. As you can see from the data, Chinese government wants to make sure the National Congress Assembly is a meeting for all people. Any group, any political party, any gender should have reasonable numbers of representatives and should have their voice in the Congress. Many people might be interested in how each Congress representative is elected. That will be a question we need to discuss in the next video, China's election system. This is all for this video. Hopefully, through my explanation, you could get some idea about China's lawmaking process. Thank you for your watching. Again, if you like my channel, please subscribe it. If you have any questions, please leave your comments below or interact with me through my website or social medias. See you in next video.